I got asked how would I feel about music journalists and how do I view music journalists versus sports journalists? Interesting question I got asked. Growing up, I always certain music journalists. I like the ones that thought outside the box, so that actually challenged the artists. Same thing with sports journalists, but long as it's within respect. You know, a good music journalist knows the craft, they know the artistry, and they can talk the lingo. Sports journalists can talk the craft, knows the field, and can ask the right questions. For me, if I'm talking about a music journalist, I would expect them to not only talk to said artist, but obviously I'm gonna pick into the elephant in the room because they all have a rival. They're studying the competition, and I would ask them point blank, how do you feel about such and such, and do you watch? Because athletes do it, and everyone does it. When I used to listen to Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, they were each watching each other's stats in the papers. So they do. People like to act like they don't, but they do. Just like, they do it in sports, they do it in music. You know who's happening, you know who's not happening. It's the trades. It's a competitive industry. And I like to hear the music journalists say, well, yeah, I would ask you, what do you think about this and the impact? Sometimes they get told what not to say, what not to do. You've learned that. Sports journalists often get to go usually beyond the line. And then it's the athlete who's either however they are. You very seldom do you get, I see more sports journalists who can be more less PC than the music journalists. Music journalists usually stand on code because the industry wants to paint said artists or they're given certain reviews and things. Very seldom do you get journalists who matter of fact will stand up to who said superstar, said person, and give it to you 100. Sports journalists tend to because they're geared that way to talk about the old tier and the standards. So I think the sports journalists are more honest than the music journalists. I know they are. Because hip hop's a great example of that. The source and everything, if you didn't get all the mics and everything, and artists get all upset and getting their feelings. Rolling Stone magazine would literally be very biased. Sports journalists could be biased. They're biased when it comes to the Hall of Fame, and they still got some old, antiquated ideas. However, I think sports still has more honesty, usually, aside from a certain subjects, i.e., LeBron James or something like that, when they feel they gotta, go at, or the Caitlin Clark phenom situation, where it's